I did not. Do you want me to start the recording?
Yep.
Okay, the recording is on.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Borough Council meeting of the Borough of Peapack and Gladstone. Tonight is December 5th, 2023. It's 7:01 p.m. And I'd like to call this meeting to order. If I may ask you, in respect to our proceedings this evening, to please silence your cell phones as I have just done. Nancy, may I trouble you for the sunshine notice, please?
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the 2023 meeting dates was published in the Courier News and the Burnsville News on December 8th, 2022, and posted at the Municipal Complex and the Borough Library. Action may be taken.
Thank you, Nancy. Would everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I hope you all bear with me this evening. I'm fighting off some sort of little cold or something. And my voice, I lose my voice as time goes on when these things happen. So if you can't hear me say something, and I'll talk loud, I'll do my best to talk loud. Nancy, a roll call, please.
Councilwoman
Brown Road, Bridgewater, New Jersey. And I apologize for crashing your meeting, but I think the best way to start any city council meeting is talking about animals. So I am here because I am a local resident who offered to help trap, neuter, and return some cats in our hills. And that has proven to be incredibly successful. And I've heard that you might be dealing with some nuisance complaints within your town, and I thought this might be a great introduction to explain trap, neuter, return to you and how that might benefit some of the complaints that you might be dealing with. And I wanted to just quickly give you a resume of mine. I'm a 30-year animal control officer and shelter administrator. For the last 5 years, I work nationally and internationally on animal issues. So I have seen successful trap, neuter, return programs all around the state and actually all around the country, and can provide statistics and methods and give you information on best practices if that might be something the council is interested in.
I would say they're quite interested in that. As you may have heard, we have our challenges with some feral cat populations in town, and some residents who may not understand the impact of what they've been doing by feeding and harboring some animals.
Absolutely.
So what I'm going to ask you to do is to reach out to Jill directly. Jill has been appointed on this project, okay, as our Board of Health president, okay? And maybe you come to our next meeting. I know the next meeting is the 19th, which is very close to Christmas. If not that, maybe our first or second meeting in January. We'd love to hear what you can offer us.
Perfect.
Because we'd love some help.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council on a non-agenda item? Seeing none, I'm going to move on. We have a proclamation tonight for Matheny, and I'm going to ask the representatives of Matheny to come up and join me. Okay, everyone knows who Bill Kent is, correct? President of Matheny. Okay. And
I'm Eileen Murray. I'm the director of the Arts Access Program.
Eileen, hi. We did not meet because I was away when you had your event.
Oh, okay. No.
Next year, or
Next year.
2 years from now.
2 years
You go.
and many events in between.
Yes.
So this year marks a milestone for the Matheny Arts Access Program. And in recognition of that, the borough has a proclamation that it wishes to offer to Matheny. I'm going to read it. My voice holder. Whereas the Matheny Arts Access Program has been an invaluable and cherished asset to our community and beyond for the past 3 decades. And whereas for 30 years, the Arts Access Program, the Matheny Arts Access Program, has been a beacon of creativity, inclusivity, and inspiration, providing individuals with disabilities the opportunity to express themselves through various art forms. And whereas under the visionary leadership of its dedicated team, the Matheny Arts Access Program has continued continuously broken barriers, fostering an environment where artistic talent knows no boundaries, and where every individual is celebrated for the unique creativity and expression. And whereas the Matheny Arts Access Program has brought immeasurable joy, enlightenment, and cultural enrichment to our town and the surrounding areas, enhancing the quality of life for all of our residents. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Mark Corleano, on behalf of the citizens of Peapack And Gladstone, New Jersey, do hereby proclaim that we celebrate and commend the Matheny Arts Access Program for its outstanding commitment to fostering artistic expression and promoting inclusivity in our community for the past 30 years. Tremendous accomplishment. That we recognize the remarkable achievements, unwavering dedication, and profound impact that the Matheny Art Access Program has made in the lives of individuals with disabilities, their families, and our entire community. And I'll add that here to the credit of those leading it. That we express our heartfelt gratitude to the Matheny Arts Access Program for their tireless efforts in enriching our cultural landscape and for their continuous dedication to ensuring that the arts are accessible to everyone. In witness whereof, I hereby set my hand to this 5th day of December 2023, and Mark Corleano, Mayor. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A lot of creative energy.
Thank you so much.
So when my pleasure, Mark. When I saw Bill walk in, I just came in from the city. When I saw Bill walk in, I said, Bill, I didn't know he was a beaker. I just put a jacket and tie. He said, oh, that's okay. I grabbed the Matheny Arts Access tie.
Yep. This is one of our many Matheny artworks converted into a tie.
Isn't that something? Art, more the art to our event.
Bill's
Well
our best
done.
model.
Thank you again so much. Thank you all.
Congratulations
That's
so
just
much,
beautiful.
Mark. Thank
I think,
you.
can you
Really
move it,
honored.
Mayor? Bill, can you move it up so I can take a picture?
Oh, sure.
We'll work on that.
Bill, we're gonna get you in a picture.
Photo op. Sorry.
Bill.
Picture time. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Mark. So much.
Okay, moving on, we go to old business. We don't have any items on the agenda for old business, but does any council member present have an old business item that you wish to talk about?
I think we just wanted to provide a really brief update on the library, Angie, just the step that we know is happening next on Friday.
Yeah, I did receive a email today asking for permission for the architects for the library to have their electrical engineer come in and check the electrical panels and stuff to make sure that, I'm assuming, to make sure that everything is okay if they don't need to add any more power or anything to what we have here in the building.
Okay.
And they will be here on Friday morning to do that.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay, anything else, everyone?
I have a question. How is it coming along with the quilt?
Oh, the quilt is, it's going to the framer tomorrow.
Okay.
It's currently upstairs getting rid of a few wrinkles, and so we'll take it to the framer tomorrow, and they should be able to do it fairly quickly. It's now December, close to the holidays, so we'll see. I think it'll probably be ready in January, so.
Cool.
Yeah, so it is going on. Thanks for asking.
You're responsible for the quilt even after your term ends.
Yeah.
I'm just walking around with that quilt.
Well, we looked into cleaning it, no one would touch it.
I know, right, exactly. The dry cleaners did not want to clean it
Yeah.
at risk of it falling apart. So
Yeah.
that's why we're just doing a little, letting it lay out and press on its own.
I'm gonna be the first to say it. Amy, come a few weeks from now, the council will be losing a very valuable employee.
Thank you. Yeah, that's amazing.
Very much so. New business, Borough Hall hours, Nancy?
Yes, back in September, after we had our summer hours, a few of the employees and myself, we did a straw poll of people that come, of any resident or anybody that comes into the building, for the month of September. We did it, the clerks office construction, and the police department. On an hour-by-hour basis, and we broke it down by hour. For the whole month of September, there was a total of 5 people that came in after 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. So my suggestion was to not just have it, the building open for summer hours, we close at 12 on Fridays, to work Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4:30, that everybody would still have an hour for lunch. And on Fridays, we would leave at 1 o'clock throughout the whole year, and not just do summer hours. We would do that throughout the whole year. And DPW would work 7 to 4 with their continued half hour for lunch, and 7 to 1 on Fridays also.
Discussion?
Well, Nancy has talked to me about this, and, you know, especially after she showed me the numbers, you know, I'm pretty supportive of it. I think it's a good quality of life to get that afternoon off. And we wouldn't be losing any hours. Folks wouldn't take a lunch on Friday. You know, the only downside, I think, to making this type of change is you just can't go back, right? It's really, really hard if you decide to make this change. I've had this own experience in jobs that I've had where, you know, once you make this change, no one is going to go back. So I think we have to be quite sure that this is what we want to do. And again, I'm supportive of it. I think it's a nice lifestyle change, you know, flexible hours for folks. And it does seem like we get rare people coming in on a Friday afternoon. So it seems like their time might be better used to have an extended evening hour, you know, on a regular basis.
But that's not what we're doing, right?
We were extending a little bit each day.
We're extending it to 4:30, half an hour.
We're not going to 6 or anything like that.
No, which, you know, I mean, it's something we could discuss doing, you know, to 4 each day and 6 one night a week. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it gets a little bit confusing.
It would, except I would think that we still have a commuting population from New York.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had one day, you know, where we were open a little bit later, that might be beneficial.
Yeah.
I personally like the way Nancy has it structured, with the 4:30, 4 days, and then the early close on Friday. I'm not, based on the numbers as I remember seeing them, I'm not sure that it's a lot of value to be open for that extra hour and a half on one day, and I believe it would not be well utilized. I'd rather see our staff at home in a reasonable time.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are just low across the board.
Right.
You know, I mean, just not a lot of people are coming into the office.
And there'll be less when more things go online.
Yeah.
And we have more people paying taxes online if it's not paid by the
Yes.
mortgage company.
Yes, and we are meeting tomorrow with Municipay. We are probably going to be starting dog licensing that they'll be able to do online too. So that's less for people coming in the beginning of the year. Also, so.
Nancy, just confirming this doesn't impact the hours of the library, correct? There are separate locked sections, so they'll stay open until they're whatever.
Right, on Friday, like we do during the summer, on Friday, the gates go up and everybody that is going into the library will go in through the library entrance over there, like they do during the summer.
Yeah. Good. I'm supportive. I think my comments are probably the same as Mark's on this. I think it's a good idea. I like the 4:30. I like the 1. I think it's the right balance for the employees and the residents.
Sounds like a good quality of life. If people are not coming in anyway, and less and less people are coming in, I'm all for it.
Let's get a resolution on for the next meeting.
We'll have a resolution on. We'll start in January. Thank you very much. I think the employees will all be very happy tomorrow when I tell them that we'll be doing this. So.
Cool.
Anybody have any other new business that didn't make it to the agenda?
No.
Seeing none, let's move on to miscellaneous. Jamie, it's all yours. Let's start with the Main Street crossing at Coco.
Sure. So, you know, we've talked the last several meetings and, you know, for years about various traffic issues in town. And one of them has been, you know, speeding on Main Street and the issue with, you know, large SUVs or even cars illegally parked or trucks illegally parked.
in front of the kind of Cocolex region and how that, when you're traveling into town from Far Hills, how you can't see pedestrians at the crosswalk. And, what can we do? Can we put up flashing signs and so forth? And someone brought up the flashing signs at a previous meeting, and I could, I could see how that would help. But to me, there's two kind of obvious downsides of that. First is it doesn't help you see the person, right? The person is still going to be there, and they have to remember to click the flashing lights. And so forth, and you think that, I would hope that cars would always pay attention to those flashing lights, but they might get tired of them and start to kind of ignore them. And I think the reality of having flashing lights in our little downtown Peapack is a little aesthetically, unappealing. Obviously safety's first, but you have to kind of think about, the way our town looks a little bit. So, I was having a conversation with some other volunteers in town, and the idea of doing a bump out, and I apologize if people in the audience don't have the images. I sent an email with a couple just like pulled off the web. Basically, at just the one side, the Cocolex side of the street, doing a curb bump out. So,
almost expanding the sidewalk.
Expanding the sidewalk out to basically further the entrance into the crosswalk. And so say you're driving, silly to try to explain this without images, so I apologize. But if you're driving towards Far Hills, coming into town, you would hit a bump out. So if you wanted to park in front of Cocolex, in that loading zone, you'd have to kind of go past it and then back into it. You couldn't just drive straight into it because there would be a bump out. And so the idea of a bump out is it's visually a little bit, I think, more attractive than flashing lights, and the person actually bumps out so that the drivers can see them. And I think we could make it small and narrow enough that it wouldn't necessarily impact that loading zone, so that the space that various trucks for Cocolex and other businesses there use when they're unloading things, that space is minimally affected. The only problem is that they would have to park a little differently. Instead of sliding right into that, they would have to maybe back in, which could be more challenging in a busy time. But to me, I'm kind of like, well, if a truck has to parallel park, that's not my concern. My concern is the safety of the residents. So I thought it might be a nice, slightly more appealing option to improve the safety of residents crossing at that walk. Just thought.
I like the idea when you sent it out. And my only thought would be we need to get input from the PD. Permission from the county, but
sure.
Input from the PD, because it wasn't that long ago that we had some revisions to the parking ordinance on that part of the street.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who are most conversant with the traffic that's parking there.
Yeah, absolutely. Get their input as well.
I would suggest if you haven't done so already, also go around.
Yes, this is literally a thought that popped in my mind, and I thought I'd share it with you all. So I have done really no follow-up. I wasn't going to do follow-up if you all didn't think it was a reasonable.
And I probably also might want to get the businesses in for it, maybe a private sit-down to show them what we're doing, so that they have a little input into it, because otherwise they'll be lining up here.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, of course. I don't want to inform them of what they're doing. We're not going to be affecting the number of parking spots or anything like that. Yes, we'll let them know.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Mm-hmm.
Just about 3 years ago, Amy and I approached the owner of that complex of buildings to see if they would contribute towards improving the sidewalk in front of it, and something along with what you're describing was part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all enthusiastic, and then it kind of fell apart. They didn't follow up, we didn't follow up, and it died. About a month or so ago, they striped a portion of it. And I think what you're thinking of is maybe bump that where the striping is out. It's a great, great idea. When Amy and I met with the owner, our idea was to do the bump out and maybe put a little planting in there so you don't have that big expanse of concrete. This is a great project, and I'd love to see it done. It will really, really enhance that area, as well as create a much safer situation over flashing lights.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot on your plate, so feel free to turn this over to Roads, especially who the new roads person might be in January.
Okay.
And they can pursue it, safe streets to transit, maybe a partial funding option. We'll probably have to pay for some of it out of pocket.
Yeah.
But it will really, really improve downtown.
Yeah, and I would love, this is sort of, I'm just talking about improving that area, the lamps that we have in Liberty Park, I think it'd be really nice to get a couple of those lamp posts in downtown Peapack.
Yeah.
You know, if we're already digging up some of the sidewalk, maybe think about that. I mean, evaluate it for cost. I know those lamps are pretty expensive, but I do think that would really look nice.
I agree with you, Paul.
Okay.
Awesome.
So another trouble spot, first of all, Jeannie, I agree, that's a really good idea. The other really unsafe part of that section is people not crossing the crosswalk. You know, countless times people walk out the parking lot to go to the post office or any of those businesses. So they're crossing at angles, and I can kind of see them crossing onto the islandish, bump out. Even more dangerous. Like they only have so much space to run and hide if something's
You
coming.
know what, the crosswalk goes to the bump out though. That may be the shortest route, so they may go that way.
Hopefully they will. So yes, I wonder if there is somewhere in the parking lot just to put a sign like cross the crosswalk. Like, I don't know, they won't read it, I know, Mark.
Yeah.
But what could we do? I don't know what the solution is there, but there have been so many people walking out in front of me, and I just, I don't want to hit them, they don't want to get hit by me, but it's a bad situation.
Right.
So,
Maybe that's something we have.
You're really not looking for them either.
I'm not
50
looking
feet in
for
front
that.
of the
I'm
crosswalk.
looking at the crosswalk to wonder, is someone in my crosswalk?
Right.
But then suddenly someone comes out inside. So just keep that in mind as you go through.
Sure.
Options.
And remind the police officers, like, stop people for jaywalking. Or, I don't know if that's technically jaywalking there, but, and remind them to use the crosswalk.
Right.
We had a resident reach out to us about 2 weeks ago, a resident of Mendham, who loves our downtown and hangs out in our downtown. She sent actually an email to me. I shared it with Eric and Rose about the danger of crossing at that point. I think the bump out would make it much safer. I really do.
And actually, I like the idea of plantings because if you expand the sidewalk, you may end up seeing tables sitting there, and then you just have a different thing blocking people when they're pulling in.
Right.
At least with the plantings, you can manage the visibility.
All right, great idea. Great idea. Love to see it.
Okay, I'll follow up on that. And then the second thing under miscellaneous is on November 15th, I attended an online meeting about a bridge project that's going to occur in town with the bridge at the bottom of Pottersville Road, by the tavern and the gas station. So that's an old bridge. It was deemed in poor condition, and so the county wants to come in and redo it completely. It would be the same width, the same length. The roadway wouldn't change in any way, shape, or form, but it would just be an upgraded bridge. Below, it would change a little bit. There's that, there's like that utility kind of tubing underneath. All that would go underground, so the area would be cleaned up a bit. Some of the piping that you see on the gas station side some of all of that would go underground, so it would look a little bit cleaner. The plan timing wise was to get it, the deadline for the bids is April of 2024, so get the bids in by next spring. But the work actually wouldn't get done until the following spring because it's over a trout stream and you can't do any sort of construction over a trout stream in basically the spring, summer, fall. And so that limits it. They would be.
It'd be better actually if they start after school gets out.
Yeah, so it would basically start very likely in March of 2025, and they're giving a time frame of 6 months. So not bad if they stick.
Not as bad as I thought.
No, if they can stick to 6 months, it's not bad, because it's going to be a huge deal for all the folks that live on Bodine, Apgar, West, Valley View, all those streets, because they will have to go up onto 206 because Riverview will be closed, Pottersville will be closed. We did bring up.
You won't be able to get through on Riverview?
I was going to say it should probably be closed to through traffic because those people will be inundated once you live on Riverview.
Yeah, it's going to be closed because of accident. The only thing is we did say for emergency vehicles, like they can't have to go around the entire town.
No.
So the county did say they'd work with us on keeping it accessible to emergency vehicles for absolutely as much of the time as possible, but not to through traffic. So all those folks will have to go up on 206. All those, people who have to drive to school. I mean, it's going to be a hassle. I mean, thankfully it was summer, and hopefully they'll stick to the to the 6 months.
When they did the bridge on Holland Avenue,
Mhm.
that came in right around 6 months.
Yeah.
They set up their bid so that the contractor will actually start, we'll get a premium
Yeah.
if they come in on
Yeah.
time.
Nice.
So they've got an incentive to do it.
That's what he implied in the meeting. And obviously it's not a cost to us, it's the DOT and county. So then we kind of talked about the design of it. So I emailed some pictures out. And so basically they said for continuity, they were gonna just do it just like they did the bridge in front of Gladstone Market. Which is fine. When you look at that, it would be the same, and I'm happy to pass, if anyone in the audience wants to see, I'm happy to pass the pictures. These are just like me and my phone. But the ones that, this is all you see is the metal railings. And so, it's not the prettiest bridge. And the stonework that you see in that first image, is actually on the outside of the bridge. So especially when you think about
Really see it.
you don't see it. My third picture is what we see, right? We see just stone, just cement.
You don't make the Holland Avenue, they did it nice
Yeah,
all
so
around.
the Holland Avenue one, isn't that the one that's like stone the whole way, the whole
Yeah.
length of it?
Yeah.
So, we brought that one up, so we can request, we can do it just,
I would go back to them on that, yeah.
so we can do it just like this one. We can request additional abutments, or whatever these are called, the posts, inside the bridge, so, have your corners and maybe 2 more, right? Or we could request a solid stone wall because it's above the floodplain.
Mhm.
And so you can have a solid wall versus a broken, so I didn't ask, but my assumption is this one is not above the floodplain, so it needs to be open, so if water would ever rush over, it could go
Yeah.
through those,
That's
those
why
railings.
This one is not above the floodplain.
Well, that's my guess, that this one, that the pictures is not, but the one that
You're
Pottersville
saying
is.
Pottersville is.
Because
So-
if we get a good flood, that's where those grades
Correct.
come in.
Right.
It comes right through them.
But they said that this new one, or the Pottersville one, the existing one, is above the floodplain, so we could feasibly do a solid. So still the same type of stonework, so there would be consistency. So basically we have to decide, and this is me going back to the county and requesting it, doesn't mean we're gonna get it, because obviously that's a lot more money for them to do a solid stone. So we can decide as a council, do we wanna request a solid stone, do we wanna request additional kind of stone pillars to break up the railing, or just go with the same one that's at the Gladstone Market.
I'd go with solid stone and then.
And
then we
go for the big one.
Well,
and
then we
see.
have room to back up.
Right.
I go for the solid
Yeah.
stone all the way.
Okay. Honestly, I think it would look it would look really nice there. Okay. That's what I'll do. Does anyone have any questions?
No, thank you for attending that meeting while we were all working very hard in Atlantic City.
I'm sure. I'm so happy to do that for you all.
Jamie, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Does any council member have any other miscellaneous discussion or approval? Seeing none, we'll move on. Why don't we vote for both sets of minutes at the same time? So I'm looking for a motion for consent approval on both the executive session meeting minutes of November 21st, 2023, and the regular meeting minutes of November 21st, 2023.
Second.
Nancy, a roll call, please. Oh, any corrections? Anything that we didn't get into, Nancy, already? Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Abstain.
Council President Sweeney?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wyble?
Abstain.
Mr. Mayor, you are at that point.
Yeah, the mayor pro tem.
Yes.
You have now been thrust into
Yeah, look at that, my first
voting
year.
I've been waiting for this for a
Yeah.
while.
There you go. Yes. Okay, moving on, introduction of a capital ordinance. I'm gonna explain this before I read it. When we approved the purchase of the rescue truck, which we have authorized to be purchased early last year, 2022, our plan was we had voted in for $650,000 roughly for it. And after we passed our budget, we were gonna vote the last bunch of money, which was approximately $75,000. After the budget was approved and the period went by, we forgot to do it. So, we had 3 solutions. We chose the first one. And what that means is we're going to introduce this capital ordinance tonight so we can pay for the rescue truck, which is imminently ready for delivery. Nancy's gonna advertise it tomorrow, and that will allow us to have a public hearing on it at our meeting on the 19th.
It'll be in the Courier News on Friday.
Okay. So, having said that, and so this is basically approving, it's a capital ordinance approving the remainder of the monies for the rescue truck. Ordinance 1135, 2023, appropriating certain monies held by the Borough of Peapack And Gladstone for the acquisition of a rescue fire truck for the Borough of Peapack And Gladstone Volunteer Fire Department. May I have a motion and second to introduce, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Council President Sweeney.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Capital Ordinance 1135-2023 is introduced and shall be published in summary in the Courier News, and that the public hearing for the said ordinance shall be on December 19th, 2023 at 7 p.m., not 6 p.m., as it says on the agenda, or shortly thereafter. Moving on to resolutions, we don't really have that many, but I'll ask for consent. Would all the council members please take a moment and look through these to see if there's any you'd like to take for discussion. There's 5.
Not for me.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine.
All right, may I have a resolution for consent approval on resolutions 212-23 through 216-23?
So moved.
Second.
Nancy, a roll call, please.
Councilwoman Dietrich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Council President Sweeney.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel.
Aye.
Okay, moving on, bills list. Resolution 217-23. Council members, is there any item on the bill list that needs to be pulled for discussion? Seeing none, Nancy, would you please read the total amount of bills to be paid?
$1,035,048.11.
May I have a motion and a second to approve 217-23 payment of bills?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Council President Sweeney.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel.
Aye.
Mayor's executive summary, I don't have much. Jill, you're going to contact Ms. Dawson regarding it, to set something up. Keep in mind that you may not be president of health next year. So you'll have to transition to the person who takes over if you're not.
Okay.
Okay? And Nancy, you have a reso on the hours for the next meeting, and that's all I have. In some of these meetings, I like to give a shout out to a certain group, and there is a well-deserved shout out tonight that I have to give, of actually a few, but this one stands out. I'd like to give a shout out tonight to the Knights of Columbus, okay? And Council President John Sweeney, who took ratty, horrible figures that you would throw away and refurbished them like new, including replacing fingers on the baby Jesus, right? You told me that today. Okay? And putting most, if not all, of the bill. We haven't settled that up yet with them. But we have what looks like a brand new crush thanks to these folks. So a shout out to them.
Yeah, they look good.
Okay? The second item I have is bittersweet for me. I joined the council in 2014. Before I joined the council, like the two of you are sitting here tonight, I was invited in to interviews, to interview a borough attorney. And at the time, of course, you could only have 3 people in the interview at one time, council members, so they invited me, and actually with John, I was in the same meeting with John, right?
No, I wasn't there.
You weren't there? Okay. No, anyway, I thought you were. Anyway, 10 years, I forgot.
I would never.
So they had the new people in town interview labor attorneys, and we interviewed 3 or 4 labor attorneys, and
I wasn't there.
one of those borough attorneys, and one of those borough attorneys stood head and shoulders above the rest. And that man is sitting up here today. His name is John Bruder. And tonight is a very melancholy night for me, because tonight could well be John's last night with us on the dais at a public meeting. And the reason for that is John is up for nomination next week at the, you help me out with this, by the
New Jersey Senate.
Senate, New Jersey Senate, thank you very much, to be a district court judge in Somerset County. Okay, which is tremendous news for John. We will miss his guidance, his advice, his balance, his honesty, his integrity very, very much. I will very, very much. And we understand that opportunities like this are rare to come by, and these people got the right guy. That's all I have to say. So, John, should you not be with us at the next meeting, and should things go well next week, we wish you our best and our congratulations.
Thank you very much. And if you see me here next meeting.
I can't speak to that.
So,
Thank you
congratulations, John.
Congratulations, John.
Okay, and
Yeah.
council members, we will have to act fast, probably over the holidays, to secure another borough attorney.
Thanks, John.
Okay, thank you.
When the new attorney comes in, we'll find out all the things you didn't do for us.
I can tell you that.
Public comments. So with 3 minutes per person, agenda items only. Does anybody in our audience wish to come up and speak? Microphone, name and address, please.
Good evening, Carol Lane, 1 Hillard Lane. I wanted to just ask 2 follow-up questions. The first is on the bump out, Jamie, that you mentioned in front of Coppola.
Yes.
Would you also have that design in front of Rob Francis where there's no parking? Because I believe that area is divided into a parking and non-parking area.
So the bump out would only be to safely access the crosswalk. So there's no crosswalk over at Bob Francis. So it would just be a bump out. I mean, I don't know the width of it, but a relatively small, just to bring out pedestrian access to that. So no, it would just be really, I can send you the pictures that I sent to you guys, just to let you know.
Okay, so that was my first question. The second was regarding the work that's going to be done to replace the Pottersville Bridge, which I was really happy to hear about, because I emailed the county probably 1.5 years ago about the state of disrepair of that bridge, and they said it was on their radar screen.
Yeah.
They did mention to me that when they did that work, they would reevaluate the mortaring that was done on the bridge by Jackson Avenue. That bridge was in a state of disrepair, and whoever did the stonework did a substandard job.
They were drunk. Whoever did that stonework was drunk. It was awful.
Thank you.
It was awful, and I've reached out to them myself. I didn't even know you did.
Yeah.
But I reached out to them twice and no action's been taken.
Well, they said that they were going to address that when they addressed the Pottersville Bridge. Now, whether or not that's the case, I did want to just kind of circle back.
Sure, I had no idea, and so when I reach out, I will mention it. They didn't mention it in the meeting that was specifically about the Pottersville Bridge, but it's great. That way we know, and then we can remind them when we get closer to the time of the actual construction.
Definitely need some.
Yeah,
okay.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone else? Seeing none, does any council member have any further items for discussion this evening? Seeing none, I'll make
Just one thing. We need to have our final meeting in December, because we need to, at our next meeting, we're going to be appointing our prosecutor and our public defender, and we have to do that before year end. So everyone make their best efforts to be there so we have a quorum.
We have a very busy meeting next meeting, okay? And then we have reorg in January, which I would ask you and Don to be at and take your seat, and then you can turn over your seat to the new council members if you don't want to. Okay? So we have a rather large agenda next meeting. I'm sorry, it is what it is, but it's close to Christmas, so we can prepare for that. For the new members coming on, we have executive session at 6 before the next meeting to discuss something. Okay? No further business anymore? Okay. Our next meeting is on December 19th, starting at 7 o'clock p.m. for the public portion. A motion and second to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Meeting adjourned. I send my thanks to you in the audience who are